Greetings, I'm Solidus Scully, and welcome to the Silent Hill Commentary. Now, those of you who've been here for many years, in fact a decade of which, you might be thinking, hold on a second Solidus Scully, this is a game you've done before, for the first time, available now on WinDVD. Well yeah, we're pretty much doing a redux of the first commentary I ever did, primarily because, well, 10th anniversary festivities, I felt like it seemed relevant. But the second reason of which as to why I'm covering Silent Hill 1 again, well, again, outside of it being the first commentary I ever did, and as such being in a desperate need of a new lick of paint, yeah, it's also a commentary that I never technically, finished. Well, I mean, I did technically finish it, but one of the parts between Midwich Elementary and the Balkan Church is kind of missing. So yeah, for the sake of having a complete redux commentary with, you know, updated thoughts on the game, although not much has really changed, but, you know, you'll see as we go on. Yeah, that's my primary reason for doing this. And as to why well, as for any other reasons why I want to cover Silent Hill 1, I mean, it is my second favourite game in the entire series, so, you know, I'm excited to go back to this. I mean, it's been a while since I did the original commentary, been a fair while since I did the review, actually, and, yeah, I feel like Silent Hill 1, as a game, is simultaneously, it's a representation of what's good about the series, but also one that I feel has kind of fallen by the wayside in recent years, if only because, not necessarily that Silent Hill 2 is to blame for its lack of success, but more specifically because, well, I don't know, I guess people find the archaic nature of the PlayStation 1 a little bit too off-putting, but I don't think that should be a barrier of entry, because Silent Hill 1, to me, is as perfectly playable as it was in 1999 as it is now, and, we're gonna be getting into that. Oh yes, we shall as we begin to dive into this adventure. By the way, don't you ever actually get to explore that area? Oh wait, hang on, I think I said that in the original commentary too. Oh, well, if I end up repeating something, well, whatever. It's intentional and not because it's been 10 years since I last watched the original, by which I mean recording it. And yes, as you can tell by the menu screen, yes, we are in fact covering the PAL version, whereas previously I covered the NTSC version, which is what was released in the US. But anyway, Silent Hill 1. Amazingly, the intro actually gets at a lot of the details quite succinctly through visual format. But anyway, this is Harry Mason. He was going into Silent Hill for a holiday with his 7-year-old daughter, and now she's missing, after a car accident. Fucking hell, Harry's a lot more calm than I would be in this situation, but that's kind of intentional, because at this state, Harry is, well, he feels very much in a dreamlike trance, as you can no doubt tell as he runs with trails around. So yeah, Harry's lost his daughter in Silent Hill, and now he has to find her. It's also quite odd, actually. I remember when I first played this game, I was wondering, like, wait, does this game not have dialogue? Is it all going to be silent? Which, I mean, it would have been quite interesting if they did, like, have the whole game completely silent, but I don't know. It's quite an odd way to do things, but yeah. I'll get into basic controls a little bit later, but in the meantime, yeah, Silent Hill, compared to your typical survival horror game of, you know, the Resident Evil Deep Fear carrier ilk, is very atmospheric, very heavy on sound design, and very detail-oriented, as was Team Silent's mission statement. But what is this? Through the fog we see the Cheryl. She is here.
Cheryl? Is that Cheryl? Where are you going? Hey, wait! Stop!
Yes. By the way, Cheryl does actually have a physical model in the game, but no matter how fast you run, you can never catch her. Which is funny, I mean, I did actually see a glitch video where you can get, like, a close inspection of Cheryl's physical character model, but yeah, you're basically Harry running against a futile quest in a very nightmarish kind of way where your child is just beyond reach. It's quite harrowing, actually, and a bit of an adult fear, really. I'd say it was really brought to the surface in Silent Hill Downpour with, specifically one scene in the St. Maria's Monastery when Murphy was chasing Charlie before he was, his untimely demise, but, yeah, I'm not going to talk about future Silent Hill games for the time being, because, yes, yeah, they actually censor that line in, the NTSC release, because he actually just says, "What is this?" rather than just saying... Yeah, so yeah, there are actually slight translation differences between the PAL version and, the NTSC version. More of which will be coming a little bit later, but... In the meantime, however, quite possibly one of the greatest introductions to a horror game I've ever really seen, to be honest. Yeah, the gradual unfurling of events as we go through here. Oh, it's getting darker. And all Harry has to his name is, pretty much just a match to help light his way. Yes, the infinite match. By the way, if you're feeling a little bit too scared and try going the other way in the attempt to escape the dark, harrowing atmosphere, yeah, your exit is actually blocked off, so, yeah, no running away. Broken wheelchairs. That's lovely. Already the Jacob's Ladder influence is seeping itself very well in hand, and, yeah, you might think a lot of this imagery is just kind of bizarre, and, you know, it is in keeping with the very abstract Lewis Carroll influence, but yes, indeed, a lot of this does actually take particular relevance as we, delve deeper into the game and its psychological roots take hold. Oh man, like, even while commentating this segment still gives me chills, and I still remember playing this for the first time, and... Oh goddamn, the way in which the hairs on your neck stand on end is... It's unparalleled, man. It really fucking is, and especially as you get to this point. Well, yeah, things are really starting to take a downturn for the worst. In the meantime, however, yeah, these are the Mumblers. Faceless, childlike clawfingers who, well, yeah, we're dead. It's over. And now it's time to, get to the first part of the Media Nerd intro. Da, 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 da.
Was I dreaming?
How do you feel?
Oh, like I've been run over by a truck. But I'm alright, I guess.
Glad to hear it. You from around here? Why don't you tell me what happened?
Wait a second, I'm just a tourist. I came here for a vacation. I just got here. I don't know what happened. I'd like to find out myself.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen a little girl? Just turned 7 last month. Short, black hair. My daughter.
Sorry. The only person I've seen in this town is you.
Where is everybody?
I'd tell you if I knew, believe me. But from what I can tell, something bizarre's going on. That's all I know. What's your name?
Harry. Harry Mason.
Sybil Bennett. I'm a police officer from Brams, the next town over. The phones are all dead, and the radio too. I'm going back to call in some reinforcements. Hold it. Where do you think you're going?
My daughter. I've got to find her.
No way. It's dangerous out there.
In that case, I need to find her now. Cheryl's my little girl. I can't just leave her out there by herself.
Have you got a gun?
No.
Take this, and hope you don't have to use it. Now listen to me. Before you pull the trigger, know who you're shooting. And don't do it unless you have to. And don't go blasting me by mistake. Got it?
Yeah, thanks.
You do best to stay nearby. I'll be back with help as quick as I can.
And so, that was the introduction to our other major player, Sybil Bennett, but yeah, the advice that Sybil gives you in terms of actually utilizing your weapons, that is actually quite sound. Take her advice, and yeah, that does also apply to a lot of Silent Hill mechanics that we will be seeing a little bit later, but in the meantime, this is pretty much, well, what could briefly be described as your Get Your Bearings segment, where you pretty much pick up the map. That was odd, I thought I saw something by the window. Anyway, Harry, being a non-fiction writer who's, I believe, was mainly responsible for running a lot of travel bureaus, yeah, he's pretty much writing down everything that he pretty much sees in Silent Hill in the hopes that some poor soul won't suffer as he did. Honestly, I think it was a real missed opportunity for future Silent Hill games to not have any of Harry's notes come back in future games. Well, I mean, Silent Hill 3 kind of does that, but, you know, I kind of wish they did that a little bit more, to be honest, but well. In any case, you're pretty much walking around, gathering supplies. Broken radio. I'm sure nothing will ever really come of that thing. The radio. It is active. But yeah, to kind of talk about the radio, it's not exactly going to be useful in giving you, you know, some jazzy tunes or some rockin' music, but rather in, well, pretty much showcasing a facet of what it actually does at this point of the game. Detecting hoodlums. Monstrous hoodlums! So yeah, pretty much arm yourselves with either a gun or a knife and start shooting because the enemies in Silent Hill will not relent. Lock and load, baby. So again, remember Sybil's advice, you know, remain steadfast, stay calm, and make sure you know what you're shooting at before you open fire. Whew. Probably could have gone a bit better than we did, in fact, but yeah, it is very important because in terms of how Silent Hill handles mechanically, it's not like Resident Evil where, you know, everything is very static and, you know, the characters react very reliably. So again, you hold R1, you shoot, and you pretty much have, you know, accuracy as far as the eye can see. No, Harry's accuracy varies heavily depending upon the player's action. I mean, again, it takes a surprisingly realistic turn compared to what your average PlayStation 1 game would have been like, but yeah, like, I mean, again, if you're pretty much just going hog wild and shooting into the air like a freedom-loving American, then your shots are going to be wildly less accurate, especially if you're in darker areas which take into account visibility and, you know, the distance between in which Harry can shoot. Again, he's not a trained police officer, unlike our Sybil Bennett, he's not a military man, so yeah, he's pretty much just your bog-standard single father and average writer dude, who pretty much just had to rely on his wits and, well, basic common sense, really, and that was a very intentional design decision when, you know, programming Harry's movements. Again, Konami and Team Silent by extension were already well aware of, you know, what was already out in terms of the competition. You know, they had stuff like Parasite Eve or Resident Evil. So again, they knew they had trained police officers who were badass and cool and could do whatever else. So they did intentionally design Harry's movements. You know, again, as he continues to run, he has like a mild stamina mechanic. So again, Harry will gradually get tired, whereas, you know, someone like Chris Redfield could run for miles and still be fighting fit. He'll stumble and crash into walls, whereas, you know, other characters like, you know, Jill Valentine would have, you know, ethics and ethics? No, she'll pretty much have athleticism and grace, and not be afraid of dogs. So yeah, there's a lot of cool mechanical depth here with Harry Mason in terms of how they programmed his movements, and even though they aren't exactly, you know, completely useful to the overall game, they are still, like a lot of bits of mechanical depth. I mean, for one thing, I will give Harry this over the Resident Evil cast, he does learn how to strafe. Long before, I think it was like fucking Resident Evil 4 and 5 made that a bit of a standardized feature, or was that 6 actually? Yeah, I think it might have been 6 actually, because that was when they had full-on 3D movement. In 2012. Welcome to the late party, pal. Yes, but in any case, now that we've returned to the alleyway, yeah. The nightmare stuff, it is gone. And, yeah, we see Cheryl's handwriting and she's going to school. Why exactly she's doing that and not returning to her father? Who knows? But anyway, now we have to go to Sandwich Elementary School. But But anyway, to kind of talk about the structure, and this is kind of apropos actually, not just random topics for the sake of itself. But yeah, the way in which Silent Hill also directs the player. You might be also noticing that compared to typical Resident Evils, where you usually have like a set mansion layout, or something that's a little bit more linear for you to focus on, Silent Hill, by comparison, is much more open as a game. It's not completely open world, but that's all to do with how the game is designed. It's very open, there are a lot of nooks and crannies for you to explore for additional ammo and supplies, and it does also sort of rely on you to sort of fall back on your common sense. So right now, if you're wanting to look for supplies, you don't exactly have anywhere to go. What's the first place you're going to go in a horror situation if you want to stock up on supplies? Go to the convenience store. We're not going to be doing that, but we did do so in the original playthrough, so yes, check out the original playthrough too. And hear the monotone Solid Scully before he discovered antidepressants. And was also a very nihilistic teenager. God, I was a very morbid 17-year-old. But anyway, you'll soon be noticing that a lot of the areas and roads that are caved in order to get to Midwich Elementary have pretty much collapsed. So again, you're pretty much blocked off from exploring anywhere. But on one of those collapsed roads, you'll eventually come across more handwriting by Cheryl saying Doghouse, Leven Street, which indicates that you go to Leven Street. At which case, again, when you find the doghouse, you'll eventually find a key that unlocks the house that's on Leven Street, pretty much allowing you to pretty much cut across the house and, you know, gradually make your way towards Leven Street. And again, it's a lot of careful attention to design like that ensures that, again, there's a lot of places for you to explore, but likewise, the players who just want to get a move on won't find themselves getting lost because they find out exactly where they need to go. Again, if you have areas of interest, the map will come up. Harry will mark off areas that, you know, he can't cross over, or areas that he needs to go, like the school or whatever. And again, areas that are completed, he'll pretty much just cross off on his map. So again, like, for a game that quite easily could have fallen into, you know, archaic, confusing map layouts, Silent Hill really knew what the fuck it was doing right out of the gate, and that is... Again, it adds a lot of accessibility to the game, and if you're thinking that tank controls make this game, you know, unplayable, as is, you know, the modern audience going, Resident Evil, I can't play this. Well, again, as you're noticing, yeah, the game does have fixed camera angles on the odd occasion, but unlike Resident Evil, which used pre-rendered backgrounds, Silent Hill has pretty much all 3D, so yeah, you're pretty much having the camera tracking Harry's movements, and even in this case, the camera is positioned right behind him. Again, you can use the analog stick if you so choose, or you could use the D-pad, but it's one of the few tank controls games where I find that the D-pad is, well, probably the lesser option here. It's actually comfortable to use tank controls with the analog stick. So, I mean, really, this game is actually incredibly fun to play. I mean, there is, like, a certain level of weightiness to Harry's movements, so that, again, it's not like, you know, you're controlling a fluid character as you would see in the modern day, but... Again, if you know what you're doing and you know how to steer the ship, you can actually move Harry with relative ease. Look, I mean, I've pretty much just been gushing about game mechanics instead of the horror atmosphere so far, so... Yeah, I mean, even from basic movement and, you know, a lot of Harry's basic actions, there is a lot of thought put into the design, and... Yeah, as we run into yet another dead end, we find yet another clue that I mentioned beforehand. And if you do examine the doghouse beforehand, sadly we do miss out on the meme-tastic thing of, oh, there's a doghouse, but I don't really know since there's no dog around. Even though there are two, dogs around, you know, known as the Groaners. Yes, indeedy. The evil is here. Anyway, but it's also worth noting that, again, you find that message, then you use that in order to, you know, collect the keys at Leven Street. Oh yeah, but I don't know since there's no dog around, even though there's two of them here. Yeah, don't worry, I'm sure it'll be fine. Stay here, Fido. And, I suppose that does also bring us to another facet of Silent Hill's gameplay. Yeah, seek and destroy or avoid enemies. Unlike Resident Evil, where you were typically either in very tight hallways where you had to really sort of carefully position and maneuver zombies away, Harry can usually be fast enough to avoid a lot of enemy threats if he's quick enough and your playing skills are up to the task, or you can pretty much, you know, make the tactical decision to take out enemies if they're in a bit of a tight spot that you can't really avoid. And yeah, save your supplies that way, because ammunition is not plentiful unless, of course, you're actively going out of your way to collect it. But thankfully, since we're in the town of America, you know, a town with grilled meats, onions, cheese, notepads, ammunition, and keys that relate to the Wizard of Oz, then yeah, you know, conserve your ammo. And conserve your health while you're at it, because yeah, you do have health drinks, medical kits, and you know, eventually ampoules, and you know, stuff to keep you going, but yeah, it's not very plentiful. But now we have another roadblock, 3 locks, and the keys for Eclipse. Well, I'm sure that'll be nothing, but you do have street marks, so yes, we've copied that to our map, and now we can continue on to pretty much unlock the 3 Wizard of Oz wood keys. Kind of odd, really. I mean, we don't find any Dorothy key, but perhaps that is Harry who is the Dorothy, wearing a checked gingham dress and red boots. Phew. Nobody's gonna be getting what I'm referencing, but whatever. In any case, though, I suppose it's also relevant to talk about Silent Hill 1's atmosphere. I mean, again, it is kind of standard across a lot of the other games, but more than ever in this one, like, I mean, it does play up its horror vibe, but it also knows when to let back and just sort of let the silence completely envelop you in this, you know, very cold, ambient place. I mean, again, you have the graphical detail of snow going about, you have the fog obscuring your vision. I mean, again, obvious clue of, you know, hiding the draw distance and making sure that the game runs smoothly compared to a lot of other games, but yeah, more than anything else, like, I mean, the game's lonesome atmosphere really does sort of settle itself in. Again, it doesn't become explicitly scary until it absolutely needs to, and when it needs to sort of trip the player out with a bunch of psychological fuckery. In the meantime, however, it's just more than happy to let, you know, the silent chill of the wind played, just, you know, quiet ambience sort of sift within your ears, and then when it starts to get full-on horror, the contrast it makes is absolutely fucking stand out, because, you know, you have the quiet ambience and the loneliness settling in, and then when it just knows how to pinch your nerves and sort of raise up the tension via Akira Yamaoka's soundtrack, it hits incredibly hard. So yeah, the lack of music is actually to one of Silent Hill's strength, fittingly enough. I mean, that's not to say that Silent Hill 1 is without traditional music pieces. It does, and Akira Yamaoka will be able to flex his talents, but and in something of a controversial note, I still think that this is his best work as a composer. And I don't know whether that's to do specifically with the fact that he was listening to a lot of Sonic Youth and, you know, Nine Inch Nails at the time, which really influenced his sound work here, but more than any other game, like, I mean, the industrial noise, it really does paint, you know, a very dark, macabre picture for Silent Hill 1 that I feel like later games sort of lost out on a little bit. Like, I mean, again, it's not that he completely shits the bed or anything, because, I mean, games like, you know, Silent Hill Origins, Silent Hill 4, you know, even Silent Hill 2, Shattered Memories, and, you know, whatever else, they do have great soundtracks. It's just that I just don't feel like they hit as effectively, subtly, or, you know, even as impactfully as the first games. But you'll be seeing more examples of that a little bit later, because to kind of get into things here, Silent Hill 1, I mean, next to games like, say, Forbidden Siren, is actually one of the few games that actually still scares me to death. And I can't say that about many games. Like, I mean, as I mentioned, Forbidden Siren and, you know, the first Fear game are pretty much the only games that really achieve that for me, but the fact that Silent Hill 1 can still scare me all these years after playing it is a fucking achievement, really. Yeah, but to discuss enemies, again, you'll occasionally have, you know, a lot of these flying pterodactyl enemies. Fuck, I used to know all these enemies' names off by heart, but the only ones I really remember are the Groaners. They're not... Whatever. It'll come back to me in time. But I mean, the point is, a lot of these enemies are a lot less abstract than what you would have found in Silent Hill games of the future, and that's also to do with the creature designer in this game, which... Again, we did have Masahiro Ito on the creature design, obviously, but we also have kind of one of the unsung heroes of Silent Hill monster design, which was Naoko Sato, who, again, would later go on to make her mark in, you know, the likes of Forbidden Siren, and her influence is greatly missed, because in terms of her design work in terms of Silent Hill 1's monsters, it's a lot less abstract than what, you know, Masahiro Ito would have, but at the same time, it does still pack a lot of that horror zest, but at the same time with a sort of dreamlike and abstract quality that, you know, very much sort of embodies like a bit of a sci-fi horror twixt with a bit of a Lewis Carroll influence, and to be honest, yeah, it's kind of a shame that she didn't stick around for future games, because her creature designs are actually quite fun. Yeah, those little winged beasties can, be a wee bit difficult to hit, but Yeah, they're not difficult to dodge, because again, they pretty much come at Harry with the intent to kind of pretty much just, swipe down and peck him. I was actually doing a bit of a test playthrough a couple of nights ago, actually, where, again, I thought because I was hiding under a little fucking banister, I thought that, yeah, they'll never be able to go in and attack me from here, because they're always flying about. But no, then this little creature just decided to, hover down, jump onto the banister, and pretty much just take a massive bite out of Harry, so... Yeah, there is a lot more to the enemy pattern than pretty much just flying about and just give him and all this, so, yeah. Best way to take out this enemy is just to either sort of wait around for a little bit. No. Unless it decides to leave you alone, in which case it doesn't really prove my point. But the thing is that, again, if you see these creatures flying in, again, take Sybil's advice. Stay calm, be cool, be collected, aim your pistol steadfast, and make sure you get it as it's coming towards you, and then on the intercept, fire away, and then you'll pretty much dodge its attack. It'll pretty much come around for 2 or 3 swipes, and pretty much follow the same pattern. Wait until it's coming towards you, wait till you get a clear shot, fire a couple of bullets into it, and then give it the good old Silent Hill stomp to finish it off, and that is actually very important. Yeah, when you take down enemies, make sure to give it a stomp to take it out, and, save yourself a bit of ammunition, and make sure that the enemies don't rise up again, because if they do, well, yeah, you're gonna be wasting more ammunition to take it out, and, you do have a dinky little butter knife to sort of take it out, but that's not gonna save you in a pinch. Because, well, I mean, the butter knife isn't a very useful weapon, and, well, your gun isn't gonna last forever, and unlike Murphy Pendleton, who has the common sense to at least use it as a blunt object, Harry does not. Queen Burger. Maybe we can... What would they call... actually, no, what would the Australian localization call that? They should have changed that from Queen Burger to... I don't know, Hungry Jane's. If there was an Australian-specific dub for Silent Hill 1. It saddens me that nobody cares what I'm referencing. Because they're all on Australian. Well, I mean, Silent Hill is on Australian in and of itself, but, whatever. Not like it really matters in recent years with Silent Hill being in Japan or whatever, but... But I suppose that is also, I'll save that trivia for next time. In the meantime, we've pretty much collected all the keys that we need, and, it was time to return home to Leven Street for the eclipse. And, yeah, to kind of point out a few differences, yeah, unlike Silent Hill Shattered Memories, Harry does not live in Silent Hill. He's here for a holiday, and, was it implied that he lives in Portland, or was that just where he moved in Silent Hill 3? Whatever. Basically, the point is that he basically lives out of town, I guess for the sake that he's a writer, and given that this is influenced by a lot of literature by the likes of Stephen King, yeah, we'll just say he lives in Maine. Because fuck it, why not? By the way, through that door lies a sword, but we can't get it until a new playthrough. Sorry, can't use it here because you're not that close to the door. So yeah, all you actually need to do is pretty much just go to the door and yeah, use these keys. So yes, on that note, I am Solidus Scully. I hope you're going to enjoy the Silent Hill Commentary Redux, and next time, well, we're going to make our way to Sandwich Elementary School. Catch you later.